The problem with government figures when they say we're putting in more cash per pupil is that might well and is indeed factually correct, except it's not the full story, because once you count in inflation, once you count in extra school children numbers, once you count in all the extra payments to staff because of national insurance and pension contribution, all those things, it is still, in 20 years, a real terms cut. And schools are still going to have to cut back, aren't they?
Well, the first thing to acknowledge is, of course, there have been significant pressures on schools. We've had a very difficult...
When you say pressures, you mean cuts?
Pressures, significant pressures on schools. I wouldn't deny that for a minute, because we're
paying... say cuts, because that's what we're talking
I'll say cuts. We're spending hundreds of millions just to pay off the national debt every week. Having said that, the government have said that they're going to increase spending. They're changing the national funding formula. It used to be for the few, not the many. It's now for the many, not the few. Now, every school will have a minimum increase of 0.5%, but some schools will get increases of up to 10% and above. And if you look at this in context, compared to 1990, spending per pupil will be up by, in real terms, and that's Independent Fiscal Studies Institute saying this, will be up by 70%.
But we can talk and talk and talk about figures and dice them in any number of ways. It's a bit like the weather. If you want to know if it's raining, you open the window and put your hand out, and yeah, it's either raining or not. It's the same here. Listen to those stories. I mean, I know parents who are getting letters from schools asking for money for Pritt sticks, for chalk. You know, I mean, you name it. That didn't used to happen. That is not my experience as a parent or as a pupil. So the proof is there.
Well, and I'm not denying there are enormous pressures on every part of our economy. Now, if you spend more money on schools, do you take it from the NHS? Do you take it from roads? However, the government are spending more money on schools. There's more money than ever before. As I said, 90% more than in 1990 on per pupil, and that's independent organisations.
But it's not enough, is it? If parents are having to...
There will never be enough, and that's why Vic, if I was in his position, I would be campaigning for more money for schools. But look at the output. More children in good or outstanding schools than ever before, 15,500 more teachers than since 2010.
But still not enough. Vic, what's your experience then? I mean, you are the one who has to look at your budget. Are you doing more budget management than teaching?
Yeah, we've made 10 redundancies last year, and those jobs still need to be done. You know, I haven't got rid of 10...
Teaching redundancies?
No, these are support staff, so counsellor, EAL, so EAL coordinator for our English as a second language students.
So you're going backwards?
Yeah, well, those jobs still exist. You know, those things those people did still exist.
Yes.
But I haven't got those people to do them anymore. So they're conflated into somebody else's job, which they'll do as well as they can. But will they do it as well as a person who's dedicated to it?
So what do you say to Robert then? You know, you're on this select committee, so it's not a party political thing, but still... What do you say to Rob when he says, look, actually, we are putting more money in and it should be all fine?
But I've also said I want to the whole purpose of the committee is to look at these issues and to look at the increased costs schools facing, which we will do.
But we will do. We've been banging on about this for so long,
But when the government are doing more, putting a lot more money into schools, 2.6 billion by 2020,
all right, but I want to hear from Vic on this one. Vic, this is your chance, basically. Yep. You're speaking for teachers and heads of colleges.
No pressure.
Say to him what you think they all think.
The problem is that the government is now driving on evidence-based decisions. The evidence is Institute of Fiscal Studies 4.5% cut in real terms. From my point of view, there are already people out there with information that could be used. Stephen Morales, who's the CEO of the National Association of School Business Managers, is actually doing a piece of work that says, how much does it cost to run a school? Robert, you're in a position to listen to those people and to feed into government directly actual costs, actual reality, not, you know, we can all sit here banding back statistics all day. Well, however, in my school, we have less staff and more kids. That can't be good.
Here's a simple figure for you to perhaps put on the table. Percentage-wise, how much uplift do you need?
Well, 4.5% would mean we don't lose money.
Okay.
That's the bottom line. So we've lost 2.8 billion from 2015 till now. 1.3 billion would still mean a 4.5% cut.
OK, so you want, say, 5% then?
Well, I would be perfect if we can keep improving education. We're giving it more money. 5% would be lovely. Thank you, Richard.
Could you manage 5%?
Well, it's not up to me to decide. Look, but this is what the Education Committee is looking at all these things. We're going to question the Secretary of State tomorrow. She's coming before the committee. But what I want to do is acknowledge where the government have done the right thing. Some schools will receive, every school will receive a modest increase, 0.5% to 1%, but some schools will get up to 10%. They're putting 2.6 billion extra.
Increase in what,
15,
though,
increase in funding per pupil.
Per pupil, but not in real terms.
Well,
if you take budget, you take national insurance, you take pension, Institute of Fiscal Studies, the organisation which you've already quoted, just in March had 4.5% budget cut.
Let's not... the Institute of Fiscal Studies also says that spending on pupils will be maintained by by 2020. I'm not denying that our huge cost pressures and that schools have had it really tough. That's why, as I said, if I was in Vic's position, I'd be here doing exactly the same thing. And they want more resources, of course, but we also remember we've got a very, very difficult economy. So when you take money away, if you spend more money on schools, then you take money away. If you take more money,
there's money for that, isn't there?
If you take more money,
power, but not money to give to schools.
And it's really easy to talk about the NHS and roads. You can cut from other areas. It's not doesn't have to be the public services. That's a really emotive thing to talk about. Let's talk about where other efficiencies could be made.
But we're also
maybe
spending,
we're not giving as many rebates to financial institutions and things like that. Maybe we could get the tax out of Amazon. There's so many other things we could do.
Ranveer's point, that's a really good point, that you've got the party's got enough money as a government to stay in power.
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is overall the education budget will be with a new spending formula. As I say, it's for the many, not the few, because it's designed to help schools that have been underfunded in the past.
Basically,
43
inner city schools would get more money, and then rural schools...
No, it depends.
It's been spread more fairly,
much
essentially.
More fairly.
Not everybody understands
the pie is being sliced more evenly.
It'll be
the pie's
much
not big
fair
enough.
because
That's
a
the
lot of schools who should have had more funding didn't. So as I say, it's for the many, not the few. That's what the new formula is designed to do. But in terms of the DUP thing, that money is not going to the DUP party. That money is being spent on public services in Northern Ireland. And we're increasing spending on public services in England too. But we just have to make judgments. And of course, all the Amazon stuff and everything is important. But this is, you're talking in the context of an overall schools budget of 43.5 billion.